question is, how do we ensure our worship is both expressive and embodied in daily living? And so this
Mm.
goes back to, what I'm always saying is it's not enough just to say, because that is just posturing, right? But you have to embody it in your daily life and in your walk. So how do we do that, guys?
Hmm.
How do we ensure our worship is both expressive and embodied in daily
I
living?
say by paying attention to the little things. Start off by just thinking about how grateful you are, just for maybe 10 things a day, and just start really meditating on those things and being grateful and thankful that God is providing you with such opportunity just to experience all those things that you're grateful for, and continue to sit in that, going back to stillness that we talked about a couple days ago. So just continuing to be grateful and making note of that is a really good start, I think, that can really enhance your worship experience, and just meditating on that.
Yeah, I agree. I couldn't have said it any better.
I hear you, Alan. Awesome. All right, so here is the verse. It's Romans 12:1 for today. Offer your bodies as a living sacrifice. This is your true and proper worship. This is one of my favorite verses in the Bible because it really gives you a sense of what you have to do. Like you have to offer your body as a sacrifice, right? Which is an action, right? It's not just offering your words, it's not just offering your mind, or even when you say offer your spirit, right? Which feels like it can be an ethereal thing. But when you say offer your spirit, like spirit is like your life, essentially. Like that's what soul and spirit meant in like antiquity to the people like in ancient times. It was like those words meant life, vitality, right? They didn't mean these super ethereal things. They were very practical. And so as a result, you saw them live their life in response to that. And now I think we've gotten to a place where we mix so many different ideologies, so many different schools of thoughts that a lot of things spiritually feel like they're out in the aura. They're ethereal. They're
Mhm.
just out in the ether. And I think that when we need to get back to marrying the idea that like these emotions and the things that are unseen and then our practical actions are all married to each other, which is how I feel that they viewed the world more back then. So
I love it.
yeah, I think true worship in the word and in the way, that's kind of how you marry them. And that's why I like that verse again. I'll pull it up for you guys. Is offering your bodies as a living sacrifice. This is true and proper worship. Like worship is that sacrifice that you're offering, right? It's not just praying in your prayer closet, or it's not just singing really loud, which is a good action, right? But it's also like, what are you actually sacrificing in that moment?
Mm.
Like, are you actually giving your spirit? Are you actually giving your life in that sense? So, here's a synopsis of what you can expect from today's meditation. Worship isn't what you perform, it's what you present. The truest altar is your ordinary routine, your words, work, and witness. I think that kind of preaches right there. Like your ordinary
Mm.
routine, what does that look like? Because that is actually your true witness. That's actually
Mm.
what the altar that you lay down and, you perform and sacrifice to every single day. Ritual without reverence becomes performance. Reverence without patience becomes stagnation. And we could break that down for a very long time. God delights more in consistent obedience than occasional emotion, and every act done in love can become incense before Him, because like love is like that's the spiritual currency that God essentially acts in exchanges with us. So, what out of those, what stuck out to you, and what is hitting home for you guys?
For me, it brings me comfort that second to last, God delights more in consistent obedience than occasional emotion, because I am an emotional person. And so when things don't feel right, when it doesn't feel like God is there, or if it doesn't feel like I've been doing enough for God, and yet my routine is showing that I'm honoring God in the ways that I can, it brings me comfort to know that those things do honor him and he delights in it. Because sometimes we associate feelings with truth and with what's real, and it brings me back to the reality that that's not always true, and God is more than my feelings. He's recognizing me for what I am bringing to him. And so that's something that I can really be grateful for.
Um, it's like two of them for me. The truest altar is your ordinary routine, your words, work, and witness. And so this right here kind of puts some things into perspective for myself, and just from being more spirit led. Uh, I know sometimes, since some people may only, they don't see the work of Christ in people, but if you are extending that olive branch and just doing some random acts of kindness, or some words, or like asking someone, hey, if someone asks, hey, let me can you pray for me or whatever, and typically people say, yeah, I pray for you. No, let's do it right then, because that right there will will basically show people I got faith in action. I'm talking about, it can be in the middle of a mall, and I can do it. I mean, I have done it before, and I can tell that people were looking and felt weird and stuff like that. But like, no, 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 no. Focus. Just like how um uh was that Paul that had got out the boat and started walking on water?
Peter.
Peter.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Peter bold like that.
Yeah. So yeah, I just having that altar, and not even just thinking about, oh, I got to be in a church when it comes to the altar. And that altar, the word altar makes me think about a lot of the Old Testament, I would say, scenes that, went down, and bringing your best sacrifice. So that truest altar is your ordinary routine. It's like, hey, I'm bringing my best form of love. I'm bringing my best form of work, and I'm bringing my best form of witness. And all of it is my routine, and that's actually me. Yeah. Every act done in love can become incense before him. It's that incense. That's me giving you my essence. Well, that comes from God. So boom. Hey, I'm receiving it, and
Yeah, that's great.
that's that myrrh.
Yeah, I think yeah, those were really good points. And I think in regards to the ordinary routine, you have to ask yourself, like, what is your ordinary routine? And what in my ordinary routine needs refinement? That's the dying to the self every day, right? Like, what do I have to put in the furnace every day of my ordinary routine? Because it becomes monotonous, and sometimes it becomes less meaningful, even if we're doing things that are for God. It's like, is the fire still there? Like, are we still doing it with intentionality, or are we doing it out of ritual and habit? Which sometimes ritual and tradition is really good, because even when we don't feel like it, it gets us in that pattern,
Yeah.
right? But sometimes it becomes so stale to where ineffective. And so if you're seeking true unity with God, true communion with God, then again, it kind of goes back to you'll start to develop that discernment to understand when to keep the ritual and the tradition and the conservation of what has been, but also when to basically move on from that and to progress into a new ritual, into a new fire, into a revival in a sense, which I think
Mm.
is also very important as well. So yeah, let's move on into the prof tip, which is worship begins when the song ends and surrender starts. So I think that's really powerful because again, it goes back to the root of worship. Like we call praise and worship a part of service where we're singing, or we'll call a worship song the more emotional song,
Yeah.
the slower song, the song that gets you more into your feelings. But that's not what it can evoke worship, right? But that's not what worship is. It's actually where the song ends, right? Or maybe it's still playing in the background, but it's that point where the surrender actually happens and takes place, right? And so the music can evoke that, right? But we shouldn't be so foolish to think that the music is the worship or the music is the surrender. No, you have to go through that process on your own. What do you guys think?
I think that's really important because I think a lot of people do associate worship with worship songs, and it makes sense why they're even called that. I mean, the action you see on the altar when that part of the service is happening is, people raising their hands and getting on their knees and essentially offering themselves as that living sacrifice. So the the message is there, but people don't often understand that it comes, like it says, after the song ends and surrender starts. So I think people need to understand that surrender is more than what you offer on Sundays, but what you can give to God every day of the week with your body and with your actions and with your mind. And so I just think it's important to understand that that is the call to worship rather than limiting it to the songs that play on Sunday.
Yeah.
Al?
No, I think Miracles said it all.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think everything was really well said. So here's your action item as we actually wind down for um basically we're gonna finish this segment on time, guys.
Yeah.
Look at that. Commit to daily word and worship rhythm. Spend 15 minutes reading scripture and praying before starting your day, which, I mean, y'all been big in saying, like, hey, first thing, like,
Mhm.
just get it in. So this is kind of giving you a specific, like, allotment of time. I don't think the allotment of time necessarily matters. It could be longer or shorter as long as you are being intentional and being earnest and actually seeking God. And by thanking God for one small act of obedience lived that day. So yeah, a big thing like in the world is like gratitude journals, which I mean I think is great, right? But I think a lot of times we'll see something really popular in the world and we'll say, "Oh, that's of the world." So
Mm.
like Christians gotta do something different, or we're called to do something different, or we can't sanctify that. But it's like, no, like that's just something practical that we should be doing as human beings. Like it's good for human beings and it's verified by scripture, right? It's not that, oh, it's so of the world that we can't do it, right? If it's something good that helps us in our relationship with Christ to bring that closer, then we should absolutely be doing that. And I think giving thanks in general, but specifically being, grateful for certain things, especially after you have dove into your scriptural reading, is, a very important part of that.
Yeah.
I think it would be very helpful.
Yeah. And I think if just to, I guess, kind of throw out some little nuggets is, praise is like equaling praise is celebration, and worship is surrender. And so that's a big difference. It focuses on God actions and power and goodness, yes. But when it comes to worship, surrender is it's a verb. And so when you surrender, you're going to there's going to be a metamorphosis that has to change. Yeah, you're going to have to break out of that little cocoon so you can become that beautiful butterfly. The praises go horizontal, worship is vertical.
I love it.
I like that.
For the algorithm.